Hey guys, welcome back to the Swish Waterlad podcast, and I know the episodes haven't been as consistent the last few weeks as I'm flat out with the Tasman Mako at the moment, but stay in the loop through the Waterlad social media for when episodes are coming out and to get all the deals. And speaking of deals, boy, does our major sponsor Swish have a deal for you. $15 off your Swish order if you use the code Waterlad. And if after all this time you still don't understand what Swish is, well then let me explain. Say your mate Jonty loves Bowden Barrett. So as a gift, you can give Jonty a personalised video message from Bowden Barrett. You write down exactly what you want him to say or give him a general guide. Jonty watches the video and it makes his day. But what the best thing about it all is that up to 70% of the money you spend on that Bowden Barrett video will go to Kiwi Kids charities. It's a very cool platform. All the lads are on it, so click on the link in the bio to go get amongst it. Also, the absolute lad, Regan Todd from the Champion Harness stable, Todd's Racing, have partnered up with Waterlad, and they have an offer to become a part owner of the hopefully champion horse, Waterlad, who is progressing very nicely. You get all the perks of being a horse owner for the very small cost of $1,000, which covers all the costs until 2025. And by then, hopefully, we'll be swimming in his prize money anyway. But in all, it's a bit of fun, and if you've ever wanted to experience horse ownership, this is the perfect way to start. Also, go follow Todd's Racing on Facebook and flick me a message if you're keen. Lastly, the lad and the business guru, Tim Bateman, has an opportunity for all Waterlad listeners, so listen up to this.
Cheers, Jimmy. Are you looking for an exciting career for life after rugby? My name's Tim Bateman, and I've been a professional rugby player for the last 17 years. My plan for life after rugby was to get into the wellbeing and recovery industry, so I built O Studio, New Zealand's largest wellbeing and recovery centre. Despite the challenges of COVID, we've seen consistent growth in our business, and we've decided to expand O Studio throughout New Zealand and abroad. It's an exciting time for the wellbeing industry, and we're looking for top lads to be a part of it by opening your own O Studio. If you're interested, head to ostudio.co.nz/lad to inquire. Back to the show.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
What a lad.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
What a lad. Well, today, all of you Waterlad listeners are in for an absolute treat with one of the biggest lads in the game. He is widely regarded as the Prince of Picton, who has gone on to become a Northland Taniwha legend. And along the way, throughout his incredible journey, he has played for teams such as the Tasman Mako, the Melbourne Rebels, and the Mitsubishi Dyna Boars. He is one of the absolute greats. It is the great Dan Hawkins. Welcome, lad.
Good to be here, Jimmy. It's a true honour, and thanks for having me, bro.
Mate, good to see you again. I'm looking forward to this yarn, but I do want to start with something current. Like, how good are the Taniwhas going at the moment? You boys are on absolute fire.
Yeah, the boys are going well. We've got a good mixture of experience and young lads coming through, and to be honest, it's been a big off-season, probably the biggest since I've been there. Obviously, after last year, we only won one game, so they really put the foot down. We've got new facilities here and whatnot, and the boys have been getting stuck in. Like, it's been a lot of commitment from the boys, you know, in the off season, and it's starting to pay dividends, I reckon. So, but it's only early days, Jimmy. You know, you must remain humble, and any team can beat any team in this comp, as well as you know. And but enjoying the ride at the moment.
That's it. It is an incredibly close competition, eh? You're right. Every team is pretty much beating every team at the moment. But I remember talking to Big Red, Tom Robinson, I must have been late last year, and he was really talking up the Taniwha chances. I know the TAB weren't having a bar of it. I think they opened you guys at 250 to 1 at the start of the year, but I'm sure a few of your mates climbed into that.
Yeah, well, I think early on we've murdered a few people's multis, that's for sure. So, and I'm sure a few boys climbed into it. Eh? We've got a few very faithful fans up here, and it'd be a beautiful thing if we can get the pay for them.
But it is always a good culture up there. Like, I know everyone talks about how good the Taniwha culture is up there, even when you're losing. So I could imagine how good it is at the moment when things are humming.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. It is. It's almost like sometimes we're that close that it goes against us. We enjoy being at each other's company, and we, in the past years we might have stayed up a bit late with each other before games and that because we just love hanging out with each other and shit. But now it's all starting to pay dividends, I think, and it's good.
Has anything changed with that side of things? Or I remember even Tom was saying how probably the lack of professionalism costs them sometimes. Is it still a little bit like that, or has things sort of started to flick a switch there?
Oh, bro, it's come a long way since my early days there. Back when I first started out, it was definitely not as professional as it is now.
Yeah.
I think we're at a good place now, but when I first got there, we're doing every now and then we'll do 2-day on the beers and a short turnaround. Back then, that was a long time ago. But now, we want to do anything to win, and everyone's bought in. So Tommy's right. Yeah, I think there's been a massive switch. I don't know if I spoke about it before. There's new facilities like we used to be in a meatworks. Our gym was pretty humble, and I didn't mind, but the young fellas like a good gym and whatnot. And kind of goes right. You can just walk out into the field and you're into it. So everything's sort of coming together. But day by day.
And mate, last time I caught up with you, you were sitting on the sideline after a red card, and mate, the same thing again. One of the real grubs of the game. What's that? 2 red cards in 2 years. Talk me through this one.
2 red cards in my whole career, Jimmy. Bro, it was some unintentional thuggery. It was 80 minutes up versus Southland, and the big lock got a bit of a break through a hole, and I happened to be at fullback, and he kind of eyed me up, and I kind of eyed him up, and I'm not looking to get punked on national TV, so I went in hard. He came in hard at me, and unfortunately, I clipped his chin with my shoulder, and down he went. But as soon as I seen him go floppy, I was pretty gutted with myself, and it's just still part of being a warrior. At the end of the day, sometimes these things happen, and he's a real good sport, Big Joe. Shout out to Big Joe from Southland. Chatted to him after the game, and he actually said sorry to me about getting a red card, and I was like, oh, what a gentleman, eh? He's a legend.
Rule number 1, though, don't eye up Big Dan Hawkins, hey?
Oh, yeah. I need to settle down a little bit on that, but I need to drop. It would have been a beautiful shot if it was a couple inches lower. I think so, anyway.
Yeah.
But,
But you're out for a few weeks now?
Yeah. It was 4 weeks. I just found out before 4 weeks, but I can lower it by doing a safe tackling course. So hopefully I learn something of that, Jimmy.
No more reds, mate.
I'll be tackling like a true gentleman right around the ankles after this safety course.
Oh, and your return is against Tassie in about 3 weeks?
It's versus Tassie. You wouldn't read about it.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing, And Nelson, I think.
Nelson.
I was hoping Blenheim, I haven't actually played a Mitre 10 game in Blenheim, where, close to Picton, where I grew up. But, it's in Nelson. Hopefully I'm involved anyway. It's tough to even get in the 23 in the Tunnies at the moment. So hopefully I can get back in there and bring a bit of energy. The
depth, mate. A caged up Dan Hawkins is a scary sight for the Tasman Mako fans, that's for sure.
I'm going to be nipping at the bit. I'll tell you that. But
if they were going to move one game to Picton, that was probably the one, the return of the Prince.
Well, they might have forgotten me in Picton by now. To be fair, it's been a while. They used to hang a few Tunnies flags around in Picky, but those days might be over. I'd love a game down the Domain there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, mate. How good would that be? But 12 years ago since your Tassie debut, mate. It was such a long time ago, when you look at it like that, but you're still only 31. Mate, how's your body holding up? Is your body sweet? Played a lot of footy.
The body feels real good at the moment. It's gone through the ringer a little bit. I've had spinal surgery and also snapped my tib and fib in a game. There's Taranaki. That was my fault too. The ball kind of bounced up and one of the Naki boys hit it pretty hard, and I stuck my leg out to foot trip him. And those farm boys have got those hard bones.
Yeah.
and he just ran straight through my bone. I looked down, I was just flopping by some skin. I was like, oh, straight. So, I had that, and then I had a shoulder surgery. So 3 surgery, it's pretty standard for a guy that's been playing for a while. You've had a few yourself, Jimmy.
Yeah, what did you do to your back?
Bro, many a year ago, this is where I pinpoint where it started. I fell off a ledge when I was over in England. It was quite slippery. And I slipped off this ledge. I had a couple too by then. There was a couple quiets behind me, but slipped off this ledge, bro, and it was quite high. And I hit it like on my tailbone. I landed on it. And at the time, I jumped straight back up. I was like, I was pretty, I was nice and warm from the liquor and got straight back up. But later on, I started having big trouble with my hammies and whatnot. And it was actually Candy when I got back to Tasman. Candy, bless her, the old physio there. Yeah, she clicked me a bit and stuff, and my hammies come right and stuff. But I feel like that's where it started. Anyway, as my career kind of went on, and at the Melbourne Rebels was where it really started to hurt me. I was living with Reese Hodge. Actually, had to put my socks on in the morning. It was getting that bad, bro. It was in a very bad way. It's probably the worst injury I've ever had mentally as well, because it was creeping into my day-to-day shit. You'd wake up and you'd be like, oh, what's the back going to be like today?
Stuff,
Eventually, bro, I had to get surgery on it because my leg was getting numb and whatnot. But best thing I ever did, getting it sorted, because it feels good now. And
So talk to me about that ledge. How high was it? Like 1 story up, and how did you fall off it?
I felt like I got hit by a bus. It was pretty high. It was pretty high, bro. It was probably like, I don't know, like maybe off a roof of a house sort of thing.
Yeah, true. Far out. Onto concrete.
Like, I wasn't real high, but it was onto a concrete. It was onto a solid landing. And like at the time I bounced up, but
And was that just like a trip, or were you trying some tsunami skins move?
I don't even know what I was doing. We were. I think we were outside of some pub. And things had finished up, and I honestly can't remember, bro. We might have been running it straight at each other at that stage. I'm not sure. I actually can't remember, but I slipped up. And that's where I pinpoint it back to. I could be wrong.
Mate, I believe you. That would probably wreck your back doing that. So that's probably where it all started. But I'm keen to hear about the rest of your footy career, but I want to start at the start. Growing up, I know the urban sort of legend is that you grew up living on a boat. How true is that one?
Who told you that? It is true, though. It is true.
Is it?
Nah. If I go back to the start when I first moved to Picton, I kind of had the choice to go with my mum or dad when we lived in Christchurch, and I went with my old man and we went up to Picton. And he's a rugged customer at the best of times, my old man, and we ended up living on a boat for quite some time. And it was a great place to grow up, because there's many a character, and there's many a bizarre individual, I guess you could say, and just a lot of legends and whatnot at the time. And at the time, it was one of those places when you were 15, you could get into the nightclubs, and there's all sorts of skullduggery going on, but there's still that community feel to it, Jim. So and then obviously went to school there, and we had only a small school of 300 or so, but we had a good first 15 at the time. So and still boys that I love to this day. We went well in that, in our own little comp there. There was some little bit of temptation to maybe go to a bigger school like Marlborough Boys or maybe Nelson or whatnot, but it's not really my style. I never really want to sell out on my boys there, and so I stayed strong at Queen Charlotte, and it was a good decision because I learnt a lot and enjoyed myself there. And then went on to Waitohi, obviously, and had a good first out of school season, and made Tasman as an 18-year-old in the Makos, and got to play with some of my heroes like yourself, Jimmy, and Robbie and Tommy Marshall. And to be honest, bro, I think looking back, I was way too green for that level of footy. I hadn't really gone the play club footy, kind of didn't know much about structure at the next level, and I was kind of playing off instincts at that stage. And when I got into the Tassie team, professional footy is a level up with structure-wise and whatnot, especially being a 10. And I think another thing was just being from a small town and whatnot, and for me, being a 10, having to order around dudes like Chris Jack, and I'm like, how am I meant to tell that dude what to do? He's a legend, and it took me a long time to get my head around that. And I guess another thing was I was going through quite a bad court case on the other side of things, off field. I got myself into a little bit of trouble. I was defending a mate. My friend got attacked with a baseball bat, and a couple was jumped in, and it was a really short affair, and it was over. But he happened to get quite hurt, the guy that attacked my friend, and it opened up a big saga off field for me, and it was quite, looking back, like it was a lot of my shoulders as a young dude, especially how much I wanted to crack it in footy as well. Had two things sort of going on, so I was at training in Nelson. I don't think I told many of the boys or nothing, and then I'd shoot back to Blenheim and go to the courthouse. And, I can have a laugh about it now because it was pretty scary at the time. I got to say, it was some heavy charges in it, and it ended up dragging on for a year and a half, and it went to a jury trial and whatnot, and it was scary. But looking back now, I can laugh. We obviously got found not guilty on self-defense. The whole time, it was self-defense, and it was just, I don't know how it really got to that stage, but looking back now, there were some funny times, now I can laugh about it. Got one time we went back, so I got this scholarship to go, remember Reunion, that rugby show that TJ used to run?
Oh,
Tony
yeah,
Johnson?
Yeah.
Bro, on that show there was they were giving away a scholarship to go to their Irons Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Up north. And and I won it because TJ was a bit of a Picton dude. I don't know if it was a bit of a setup or not, but he kind of chose me to do it because I think he's from Havelock maybe, or just out of Picton. So I think he was trying to help a young fella out, and I won this scholarship anyway. At the time, this is actually before Tassie, just before I got into Tassie, but I was still in trouble with this stuff, and I had to go to court to be able to go there. I had to get off my curfew to be able to go up to this Iran. So I had to go into court, and it was funny, bro. I had this lawyer. He's a battle-hardened lawyer and stuff, and we went into the courtroom to try and get off a week off this curfew so I could go up north. And this female judge comes out, and man, she was in a mood. She was scary, and she was like, "Nah, I don't like." The lawyer said, whatever, I want Dan to get off so he can go up north and pursue his rugby career and whatnot. And she's like, nah, I don't see why he should be able to go anywhere, rah-de-rah. And he sort of said his thing, and then the police actually said, nah, we want him to go to this Iran's course. And so the judge finally said, okay, I'm gonna let him go. And anyway, I walked back out, and this lawyer comes out. He's just talked to the judge and that, and he's come out and he's sweating. I'm like, comes out. He's like, bro, did you? He's like, did you see her? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, why are you sweating? And he reckons he's like, I've just spent 30 minutes ducking estrogen bombs. He reckons. And he's like, don't you mess that up because that chick was crazy. And I was like, all right. But he's like a battle-hardened lawyer and he's sweating bullets. I was like, man, this chick wasn't messing around. So, and then ended up going up to Iran's to the academy and for a week, I think it was, and it was good. It was good fun. And a wee story about that one was we're doing, they were videoing us sprinting, and I did my sprint. And I was like, oh, sweet. I got a bit of a funny running style at the best of times. I kind of scuttle, like crab a little bit. But the fellow who was videoing it, he was like, oh, Dan, do you reckon I could use your video to show the boys? And I was sitting there thinking, yeah. I thought he must have thought I looked good in full stride or I had flawless technique or something. Whips it up on the big screen. He's like, boys, this is how we don't want to run. Look at this. And I was like, he didn't tell me. He just put me out there. And he's like, that's how we don't want to do it. But I could see the funny side of it, bro. I always have seen the funny side of it and that.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm still here playing. I don't know how many of those boys are still going. So,
100.
the last laugh, Jimmy.
Mate, so much that you've gone through. Because you were, 18 years old, playing for Tasman, this massive court case on your shoulders. Geez, that must have been a tough time.
Yeah, it really was, bro. Like, I can laugh about it now, but at the time, it was scary. And because there's a real chance maybe go to jail or whatever. But I had to kind of try to prepare myself for that. And then I was also, trying to crack it in professional footy. And I think for any of the young, I think that time trying to get into Mitre 10 Cup, especially if you haven't been through an under-20s program and stuff, if you're score from club.
Unheard of, eh?
It's quite stressful because that's your shot. And you're kind of working, you're doing all this other stuff and you finally get a crack and you want to make the most of it. And for me, I didn't, bro. I my time at Tassie, I was just too raw and I had that stuff going on and I wasn't good enough at the time. So unfortunately, the next year I didn't get back in, and rightly so too, in my opinion. But these are the trials and tribulations of life, Jim.
How was that to deal with?
It was hard. It was real hard because I really professional footy was a big goal for me, and I felt like I failed at the start, and I was like, well, maybe this is it. But then time kept going, and I got hungry again, and actually in between that time, between my time at Tasman and coming up to Northland, Kieran Kane, the coach of obviously KK, we were together in the same team. What was that thing you used to say, bro, when there was if you did something bad, was it chop your cock off a fence?
Cut your cock off, yeah. Mate, I got a few of those.
Yeah. I did one too many cut your cock off offences and didn't get back in. I'll tell you that. But anyway, KK actually invited me up to, because he's a Picton man as well, and I think he had a bit of a soft spot for me. And he actually invited me up to his house in Picton, beautiful house too, overlooking the bay and that. And I think it was an intervention. That's the way it seemed anyway. And I went up there and had a bit of a drink with him, and I walked in and he's like, Danny Hawkins, what the fuck are we going to do with you? And I was like, I was like, going to go good. He's like, at this time I was kind of I was in a little bit of a lull, staying on my mate's couch and whatnot. And he must have heard about it and got me up there, and he gets me in anyway, and he's like, Dan Hawkins, you remind me of me as a young fella. And I was like, oh, here we go. And he goes, I don't even know if I can say it. He's like, when I was your age, I was sleeping on a couch just like you. And he's like, when I was 18, I actually tried to beat the shit out of my dad. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I see a lot of pent up anger in you. And I was like, okay, I don't know about that. But and the yarns went on, bro. The yarns went on. Can't even get into a lot of them. But it was from a place of love, that he took me up there. But at the same time, when he spoke to me, I knew my time at Tasman was done, because he was still the coach at that time. And I think it's an important thing as a player to be able to read when your time might be done, and read, because it's a business. We know this, and that's when I felt, okay, I've got to move on. Like, I could play wicket at club or whatever, and I don't think I'm going to be an option for them anymore. So when that happened, my mind kind of said, well, maybe I have to move on somewhere. So yeah.
And how did the Northland gig come up?
That's the story in itself too. So, like, just around that time when KK gave me that intervention, there was a Marlborough versus Nelson game. There was like the trial for Tasman, the Mako.
Yeah.
And so that was a big game. And there was a fellow that come from Auckland, I won't say his name, but he wanted to get first five as well, and he was on the Marlborough team, and he wanted to make Tasman and whatnot. And we were both on the same team, and the Marlborough coach ended up putting him at second five and me at first five.
Yeah.
And he was actually at first five, and I think he was pretty pissed off about that. And we kind of went into the trainings and stuff with Marlborough, and like I felt like a line out would go in, like I'd call a move or whatever, a set, and the line out would go in, and like it'd be coming off the top of the line out, and he'd like change the move on me or do some weird shit, and you know, my skullduggery radar was going off real quick. Like I felt like he was trying to like make me look bad. Like maybe I was like thinking into it too much, but anyways, it happened quite a bit in the lead up to this game, and like I was like, oh, enough's enough. I gotta like nip this at the bud, and I had to have a chat to him. I was like, bro, like, what's going on here? Are you trying to like make me look bad because you want to be first five for Tassie as well, or whatever? And he's like, oh, no, righty, rah. And he goes, and then he started to get real nice to me. And he goes, I've actually got the name of an agent. I'll give you like a good word to the agent, and this and that. And I was like, oh, cool. And then we actually made good friends, and we're all good now. And this agent ends up ringing me anyway. And this guy's given me a good word, and he's like, oh, Dan, like, righty, rah, I'd like to take you on. And I was like, awesome. Like, and he's a good mate to this day, that my agent, Ben Boyle from Orbit Management, he's a good fellow. And he said, like, all right, like, Dan, there's a spot, actually, I think Ash Maweki had just left Northland.
Oh, yeah. And
he's like, there might be an opportunity there for you if you're interested. And at that time, going to Northland never really crossed my mind. I'd only really seen it on the weather map when it's always got the little sun icon on it. But in saying that, David Hull was always one of my favourite players, and it just felt right to go there. I don't know what it was, but something just told me, go. And I went, and it worked out well. I think Banksy was at that time trying to get into Tassie as well. Yeah. And so Banksy ended up getting in, and obviously the legend goes on, you know, how legendary is that man? So it worked out for all parties, you know.
Yeah, good. Was Holwell up there when you were there, when you arrived?
He's finished his career, but he still lives up here, and he's in a farm, and I chat with him quite often. You know, he's had a lot to do with me, and he's a real good, like, he's just he's a hard man, and he's good to have a chat to. You know, when times are tough or times are good, he's got plenty of good yarns.
Mate, so many similarities in your games.
Right, it's some people have said that, and it's an honour to even be, you know, mentioned in the same sentence as the man. You know, it's cool. You know, especially it's a guy that I loved as a young fella. You know, now we're mates, and I've been in his jersey. You know, so it's cool.
Mate, how good's that? And talk to me about when you first got up to Northland. How'd you find it? Obviously, like you said, coming from Picton up to the far north. How was it?
Yeah, it was actually it's probably a perfect match, Picton and Northland, in a lot of ways. I actually really thrived up here when I first got to the airport, and I didn't really, you know, it was on a whim, and a fella arrived at the airport looking for me, and he had like baling twine as his belt. And he's like, oh, this old fella. He's like, oh, you Dan Hawkins? It's like, yeah. He's like, oh, you're with me. And he took me to a place called Kaiwaka. It's kind of as south of Whangarei, probably about 40 minutes south of Whangarei, and it's kind of farmland. This is the club I played for when I first got here, because I only came up here. There was no contract or nothing. You know, I had to earn it. I come up here to try earn a contract, and he took me out to his farm. It was on this long dirt road and stuff. And he's like, oh, you know, this it's not the greatest place in the world, but we'll have you out here for a few days, and we'll find you something better in town. He was like really downplaying his house and stuff, and I was like, oh, no, I'm sweet, you know, I've lived on a boat, as you said, you know, so I can live anywhere sort of thing. And he took me out there, and it was like an 1800s historical house, and he hasn't done anything to it, so the walls are paper thin, but it was awesome, bro. It was on like a river, the Kaipara River, so it like overlooks the river, but it's a real old school house, and we kind of only ate meat from what he killed on the farm. We didn't really go to the supermarket or nothing, like eggs from the chickens and whatnot. And anyway, I was out there for a few days, and he's like, oh, we'll find you that spot in town, righty. And I was like, oh, I actually quite like it here. Do you mind if I stay? And he said, oh, he's like real surprised. And I was like, I'd like to stay. Like, I love it here, because we got on real well. His son lived there too. He was a good fella, and we started getting a bit of a routine. He was like, sweet, yeah, you can stay. And we started getting a bit of a routine going. Like I'd run the driveway and they'd do a bit of farm work. Then we'd come back into the house for a cha nui. We drank a lot of cha nui, that's for sure. A heap of cha nui. And he's just an old school character, bro. And he's like a father to me up here to this day. You know, we're still good friends. And I always go out to that same house all the time.
Yeah.
So I live up Whangarei now, but I always go out there and it's just he's always had my back, and he's one of the legends, you know.
Man, it's so cool, and such a humble pad.
It was, bro. And for example, like one night I woke up and there was like a shotgun bullet went off, and like I was like woke up pretty startled. And I got up and went outside to the veranda, and he was out there with his shotgun, and he's just shot a possum that was keeping him awake. And he had those like mongrel farm socks on, and those V-cut undies you get from Kmart with the saggy ass. He had those on with a shotgun. I was like, "What are you doing, Trev?" And he's like, "Oh, this bloody possum was keeping me up." And this possum got blown to bits, like just shit, like blood everywhere. And I was like, "Oh, this dude's a ledge," you know. I loved it, and I ended up staying there for like probably 2 years.
True.
And I didn't go to town for like 3 months. I never went to Whangarei, the actual city up north, for probably 3 months once I got there. But it was a wicked way. I felt really comfortable. I think that was a big thing for me. I felt comfortable out there, and it was like that zone I could go. Once I made like the Northland wider squad and that, I could go to training up there. And, you know, that was pretty, you know, it was full on. And then I could come back out there and I was comfortable, and it was just quiet, and I could relax and just, chill out.
Chill out with the cha nui. How good.
Yeah, chill out with a cha nui every time.
So then your form obviously was good enough to then make the Northland squad. Was that just from club form?
Yeah, that was just purely from club footy. I went all right when I first got up and played some good club footy. Actually, the funny thing is, the first game club was versus David Holwell.
Was it? True.
Which was a huge honour, you know. And I went all right. And anyway, got signed for a couple years, and obviously had to move up to Whangarei and whatnot. And and it started from there really. And I was living with Dan Pryor.
Yeah,
it was just Dan and Fidia, another fellow Fidia. So I moved in with them, and Dan really, you know, he looked after me well, and he's a very good mate to this day. So I got on the squad, and Ben Seymour, another Super Rugby player, he was the other 10 here, and he was a good player himself. So he was kind of like the marquee dude, and I was just behind learning and whatnot. And we had a few games and stuff, I think, and I don't know if Benny got injured or I don't know what happened, but anyway, Dan Pryor, he had quite a bit of power. You know, he was quite well respected, and he was in the leadership group, and he kind of said to the coaches, like, "Oh, you should just give this battler a bit of a chance." He's like, "I know he runs funny and kicks funny and shit, but you should give him a shot. He's got a bit of heart or whatever." This is what he told me. He said anyway. But anyways, yeah. So when he came out that day, probably about 4 games into the season, and he came out and he's like, "Oh, you've got your shot. Don't blow it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're starting." I was like, "Oh, wicked." So, you know, I probably owe Dan, got me my first start. And, then it was Hawke's Bay was my first start. And it was a weird one. It was just, everything just felt real good and just really calm and confident, bro. And I can hardly remember the game. It went really well. Like, it was weird. It was like almost in a bit of a flow state or something.
That's the dream.
Everything come off, you know? Yeah, you know, when like every kick bounced like this far, like bounced out like perfectly, and I think I dropped in the pocket for a quick drop goal, and everything was going right, bro. And then I ended up starting for the rest of the season, and from then on, been there for 70 games now, I think. So
what was the biggest switch from your time with Tasman to your first game with Northland? Was that just time and experience that made you feel that comfortable and be able to get into that state?
I've always thought about that. I think I was definitely far too green. As when I was at Tasman, I was 18 and I was playing for my team Waitoi, but we didn't really play much structure. Like, I was just playing off instincts, and then some reason I felt really like comfortable when I come up north. I was a bit older, and honestly, I think guys like Dan Pryor, he's a real relaxed dude. And obviously, Rennie, Rooster, Ranger, he took me under his wing pretty early, and he's sparking up a ciggy right before training, and that made me feel pretty calm. And believe it or not, that for some reason that made me feel real just relaxed and whatnot. So I don't know. I think it was just being older, and because every team I've been in, there's been legends there, and I think that was the main thing, just being older. And as a 10, I feel you got to earn the trust from them, and you got to earn their respect. You probably feel the same, Jimmy. And at Tasman, even though the boys they were awesome to me, I never felt on field I earned their respect really. But up north, I felt like I got the boys' respect, and I felt like once I got that, I was away. It's funny how it works, because I was pretty much the same player, just a bit older and a bit more wiser, I guess. But it's that switch. I don't know. It's just that you can feel when the boys respect you. They trust you to lead them. Yeah. I think that's the main thing, and I could feel they trusted me to lead them around the field, and so
100%. Yeah. That confidence, that confidence as a 10 is so key, and to get that sort of support from a couple of those senior guys, makes such a big difference. Just sort of lets you know that you're doing the right thing, and that the main guys, the key guys, have got your back. So you can just sort of go out there and call what you want. But like you say, like when the team doesn't quite trust you, you don't feel like they trust you, mate. It's a tough gig.
It is, and it's hard to shake. You can shake it, I reckon, but in your head when you got their trust or you don't. Yeah. So. And
one thing you had to do throughout your career is sort of juggle, because you're semi-pro like your whole career up until this time. You were juggling work with footy. How did you find that?
Yeah. Like at the start, if I go right back to Tassie, when I was juggling both, I was working at the meatworks and on the slaughter floor. And, it was some big days and whatnot. But it was all good. I enjoyed it, but they were just long days. That's why I think that beginning bit, when you're first trying to crack Mitre 10, is probably the toughest for a lot of guys, because man, you got a lot on. You got work, then you got to go to training, and then you got gym, whatnot, and then you just got the pressure of trying to make it. So I juggled it all right, and then as my career went on, I went to Japan for a few years and went to the Melbourne Rebels and stuff, so I kind of went fully professional. But I haven't minded. I quite like the actual going back to work side of it as well. I don't mind it, but I think, it can be a struggle, and a lot of the young guys coming through, I realise it can be a struggle, and I take a real bit of pride now in trying to help them, and I know what it's like.
Talk me through working on the slaughter floor, whatever it was. How brutal was that?
Yeah, bro. The first day when you turn up, because there's a lot of rugby boys in this, like it was kind of a bit of a hookup through rugby, and there's a lot of boys from opposing clubs and stuff, and like you walk in, and there's blood everywhere, and then like there's the boys up high on where the cow first goes up on the chains, and they're like, when a new person comes in, they smash their knife on the thing. They're like, they say some shit, some kind of chant. And it's quite intimidating. You roll in there, just blood everywhere, and these big mongrels with knives just smashing on the thing. And I was like, but luckily I knew a lot of them, and I played versus them, and actually beat a lot of them. So I could walk in there with my head held high, So it wasn't too bad in that regards. But then your first job there, your first job is just pushing blood into the drain with a squeegee. Yeah. So that was my first job there, just doing that, and then you work your way up. And then I ended up working my way up to the gut buggies. What an honour, to the gut buggies. And,
what do you do there?
So there's four buggies, and the carcass comes around the cow, and it's been a bit of the skin's been taken off in that, and this guy comes with a knife and slits it right down the gut, and all the gut comes out, and it falls on this little silver buggy. And like my job, there's four of us, and you had to dissect the gut. So you take the kidneys, the spleen, all that stuff off, because they use everything, but you got to dissect it without cutting the actual gut and contaminating it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a bit of an art to it, but got to write it at the end. But there's all sorts of creepy shit going on there, bro. Like, we'd go down the line because some of the cows are pregnant, and you know there'd be little fetuses in there, and dudes would pull them out, and it's just fucking weird. But that's kind of it's just blood and that kind of sort of stuff, and it was just a good group of lads though. But it's quite confronting, especially like it's not very nice seeing animals. You know, the cows fall out and they land on a stun table, and then because it was halal, so the guy who kills the cows, he had the prey that was all blessed. It's quite interesting how it all happens, but within like 45 minutes, the whole cow's boxed, like every part's pretty much used, and it's all in a box and stored away. So yeah, it was a good job. It was all right. Yeah, it was just gory, man. Had some weird dreams to start with.
Better you than me, mate. I would struggle on that one. I don't think I'd last a day.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, that's for sure.
But up in Northland, you did mention like you're juggling your work and footy, and then you get the opportunity to go fully professional, like you said, with the Rebels. How did this opportunity come about?
Yeah, I think it was after my second year with Northland, 2014. We had a pretty good season, and I played fairly well. And the Rebels sort of came calling. I got a call from my agent saying the Rebels are interested, and very quickly they said they'll take me, and so that was massive and an opportunity that I look forward to. Melbourne's actually where my mum's from, and it's probably where I become a little glisten in her eye, you know. Right. That's where my mum and dad met, and so it's kind of a little. My dad's actually played club footy there back in the day, so there was a little connection there. So it kind of felt like it was meant to be, and it was cool. I went there, and the boys there were primo, like top lads, as you'd say, Jimmy, and it was just unfortunate. I was really struggling with my back before I went there, and I was in a bad way by the time I got there, and it's something I'll probably never know how. You know, you kind of need to start to see how you'd go. But my back, it was just one training. My back was getting that bad that my leg was going numb. So the doc said, like, go see a surgeon, rah-de-rah. So I did that, and then he said, like, you got to get surgery. And I think I played 3 games for them, just bits and pieces, like, you know. I'd hardly even call myself a real Melbourne Rebel, to be honest, but I guess I played a couple games. But then I got that surgery, and it was just nice to get my back right. The surgeon said he had to take an extra half an hour to bore a hole around the nerve because it was so like tight on my nerve. Because during the preseason with the Rebels, I had a good preseason, but I could feel my kicking, like the meters on my kick were going down, just all those sort of things. Yeah. Like I wasn't moving very well, but at the same time, it was an opportunity to play super footy, and I was trying to man it out. And it was a big preseason over there. It was pretty physical and stuff, and you know, when you're not one of the big dogs, you're on the pads, and you know, you're getting smashed day in, day out, and probably didn't help that I was sleeping on an airbed as well. But,
why were you on an airbed? You mentioned you were living with Hodgie.
Yeah, I was living with Hodgie because it's quite hard to find accommodation there, and you can, but it's quite expensive in that. And Hodgie had this little office there, like a little computer office. It didn't even have a door; it just had a little like curtain, and it could fit a bed in there. And I was like, I'll just chuck an airbed down. I chucked it down, and then it was tiny, bro, but I had this like, because we got like a living allowance, and I bought this with the living allowance. I bought this 60-inch TV, and it pretty much took up the whole room. So I had an airbed and just the TV. It was like a cinema. It was wicked. But it was cool, and it was a good time there. But obviously, everything happens for a reason. And once my back went, it was a long road to recovery. But a funny story is that I come back to New Zealand, and I always give out my gear, you know, all the Rebels kit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I I gave this Rebel shirt to my mate, and anyway, I come back to his house one time, and his dad rolls in with it, and it's like this Melbourne Rebels shirt, and he's got it on, but he's ripped all the sponsorship off and stuff, so it just says Rebels. And I was like, bro, what's the go with that? Why do you take the sponsorship and stuff off? And he's like, oh, no, it's been a good shirt. It goes real well down the clubhouse, because he's in the Rebels motorcycle gang.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like taking this, it's got pink on it and shit, and he's taking like all the sponsorship off, and it just says Rebels, and he's like ripping it at the gang house at the Rebels pad. I was like, fuck, it's got pink on it, bro. And he's like, it doesn't matter, bro, it's all good. And I was like, yeah, fair play. I was like, I was having a laugh about it though. I was like,
It's good stuff. And what was different with the Rebels over there? Like, how did they do things differently? What were the lads like?
The lads were cool, bro. It was like, when I first got there, it was like they must like almost already knew me. Like, there was Mikey Harris and Tom English, Laurie Weeks, Sean McMahon, and there was just that. I was real surprised though, because I've talking to like Kiwi boys before I went there. They were like, some of them were like, well, rugby's like a real private school boy thing in Australia. Like, there's that kind of scene, and I was like, I went there, and they were just the coolest dudes. They looked after me real well, and I still chat to them to this day. And we had a lot of fun, and and Tamati Ellison was there, Tams,
true,
and that's a dude. You know, he's one of my heroes. You know, there's something about him. He's got a lot of mana to him, and I always catch up with him now and then. I actually caught up with him a couple of weeks back when we played Wellington. Yeah, and it's cool to see him and yourself doing so well in the coaching ranks, and you're going doing the coaching thing now. So
how long was your rehab from your back? And is that why you didn't get recontracted?
Well, I didn't really get a chance to put my foot forward in that. It's probably rehab, to be honest, like it took a very long time to come fully right, but probably like 8 months before I could play. So I signed back with Northland and come home, and I had to pass a medical, and I got back and we had to do like a return to play sort of thing. It was still pretty sore, and the physio, he's quite a skinny dude back then, and I had to do some tackles with him, and he would tackle me, to get back into contact. And we did that, and after that night, I had to crawl to bed. Like, I was in such a bad way, and it was just a physio, it was just he wasn't a professional footy player, put it that way, that he was going to hit me. So I actually had thoughts of hanging him up for a little bit, just maybe for a year, or maybe for good, because my back was in such a bad way. And but eventually, like, because I was meant to pass, lucky I knew the physio, he's a good mate, and he kind of said to them, look, give me some time, I can get him right, because I had to pass the physical to get the contract. He's like, give me some time, and pretty much pushed it right to the last second. And one morning I just woke up and I could like touch my toes again, and it just freed up. It was just real weird, and it kind of come right. So I don't know what it was, but it just come right one day, like not fully right, but good enough to play, and I made a successful return to play, so it was good.
And then off to Japan.
There was got a call from the coach of the Dyna Boars, who's a good mate of mine, George. He was actually the Northland coach as well. So then he went to Japan, and their first 5 there, he had too many concussions, and they just needed a short-term replacement, just for, I think it was 4 games. And I jumped at the chance and went over there and went all right. Yeah, it went pretty well and got re-signed. Then we had another season. So like for the Mitsubishi Dyna Boars, like you played second div too for a bit, Jimmy?
Yeah, I remember playing you actually. Yeah,
we did. And but for Mitsubishi, it was their dream to get to the top league. That was, I didn't think they'd done it in like, I can't remember how many years. Because I remember when I first turned up, Mikey Little was there.
Oh, yeah. And
he said to me, like, bro, if you help us get to top league, they'll build a statue of you or something. I'm like, true. Anyway, so like the season goes on. We had some cool foreigners like Mikey Little and Matty Vaianga, some great players from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And anyway, we end up playing, and we get to the the promotion relegation game where determines whether you go up or not. You play, I think the top teams in the top 4 teams in the second div play the bottom 4 teams in the top league to get up. That's how it works. And we had a game, I think we were playing Toyota Shock, you're saying, and it was like I knew, I was hearing whispers about the Dyna Boars were going to sign a big name 10 for the next year. So and I think it was Colin Slade, and I was hearing whispers, so I knew that I had to have a big game to stay around. And I just knew the Japanese people, they kind of reward people that do good for them. Do you know what I mean? And so I kind of knew this game, it was all or nothing. And I felt if I played well and we won, they might re-sign me and take us both on. So yeah, like there's a lot of pressure, but anyway, the game went on, and I had like one of the best games of my life, So
back into flow state.
Back in that flow state, Jimmy. It only happens once in a blue moon, but it happened in a few crucial times, I guess you could say.
Huge moment.
And anyway, we won it, bro, and we won it, and Ishii, the big dog, the big guy at the Dyna Boars, he ran out in the field, he like sprinted out to me, he's like, "Hoki-san, I want to play with you long time," and gave me a big hug. And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Come to my office," and got re-signed the next week. I was like, it was like beauty. So I ended up doing got another season with the Boars. It was good. But,
what a yarn.
Yeah, it was actually a special game. Yeah.
Mate, I bet as a young Picton kid, you never would have thought that you'd be playing over in Japan, playing professional footy. It must have been pretty crazy.
Nah. Never did I think I'd play this many professional games, let alone Japan, let alone Super Rugby, And I think that's what's been massive for me. My gratitude towards like how far I've come, and just going to training with the boys every day. I'm just grateful, It's massive, and every game I go into, now I guess I get confidence from it because I never thought I'd do this much, and everything now that comes from now on is just like an extra, and hopefully I've got a few more years in me. I'd love to play 100 for the Tunnies. That's a big goal of mine, and maybe get over to America or something. But I think gratitude's a huge thing in my life now, and Mate,
I love that, and I can feel it. I know that you can see it with like even hearing you talk about your whole career. You're always so grateful for every opportunity you've got and people that you've met and where rugby's taken you. It's pretty cool to hear. And you also mentioned that Northland, your dreams to sort of play 100 games for them. What are you on now? And is that how long are you signed up there for?
I'm on about 70, I think, or something like that. 69, 70. But if I keep getting these red cards, it could be a long road.
10 years away.
Yeah, exactly. I'm only signed for this year, but we'll see what happens. I've been pretty happy with my form of recent. We've got Rivs, a young 10 he's been starting the games, and he's a wicked player, and he's been doing really well. But I've just been playing a role on the last 30, coming off of the bench, and somewhat closing the games out or whatever needs to be done. I've actually I've quite relished that role at the moment, and helping Ribs as well. Anything he needs, I'm there for, and I think that's been another thing, in my career is, as I said earlier, just reading those situations, just knowing like I'm in my 30s now, that maybe I've got to play a backup role every now and then, and just relishing it, and hopefully from that, I can keep going. I can still start games and whatnot, and those times will come. But if the Tunnies need me to back up or whatever, I'm willing to do it. But I'm happy with everything that's happened apart from this red card so far. So hopefully, bro, I can come back and keep going the way I was going, and see what happens from there.
Mate, you're such a lad. But one thing we haven't discussed, you've mentioned it a few times, is your goal kicking technique. It is a very unusual goal kicking technique. I'm sure you've had many a kicking coach try and change your techers, but mate, you still hit them from everywhere. Kick it, I don't know, probably around 90%. You're on fire every year.
Yeah, it's something I wasn't always good at. Actually, I went over to overseas for a little bit in Ireland, and it's a long story, but I got stuck out in the middle of nowhere, kind of in a house, and they didn't get I was at a club playing footy, and they didn't give me a car or nothing, so I ended up stuck in this house, but there was a rugby field next door, and I spent pretty much, most days down there just continuously kicking. And even when I was at school in Picton, to be honest, I'd always be kicking. It was something I enjoyed. Sometimes I just chuck the headphones in and just go for a kick. It's something that's quite therapeutic. And anyways, I just messed around with my style and stuff, and started feeling that what was best for me was just taking out the run up. Pretty much, like, I think the less run up, the less margin for error. And my kicking tee I actually made myself as well. To this day, it's the same tee. I constructed it myself. And I think I'll frame that one day. I love that tee. It's handmade, tailor-made, we'll say. But as far as kicking coaches telling me what to do, they didn't really touch me. I think they were just like, "That's that messed up. I can't even change it." It's hard though, because sometimes young fellas or some people come up to me and want to kind of for me to teach them how to place kick. Yeah. There's just no way, it'd be wrong for me to try to teach them to kick like that. It wouldn't be right. It'd be an atrocity. And it's just one of those things. I think I repeated a bad technique so much that I learned how to make it good. And it's probably been something that's really helped me out from my career. Making a few of those clutch kicks, and a team can rely on the boot. It's good.
100%, mate. You've always come up clutch. How many tees have you got? What happens if you lose your tailor-made tee?
Oh, I dread. It's a fear of mine, to be honest, Jimmy. There is no replacement.
You only got one.
I've only got the one, and I don't think another one can be made, to be honest. I'm real edgy about my TA. Like, even with the T-boys, for all the teams I've been in, I'm like, I kind of demand that it's back in my bag after the game, and that's the one thing I demand, and they make sure they put it back in there for me, so when I get back in the change room, it's always back there. They know how I am with that TS. It's like another baby to me.
Mate, I know how to sabotage you when you come down here.
Right, I was just thinking that, I was just thinking that.
Running the water. Who's got my tea?
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
I would never do that. I would never do that.
I know you wouldn't, Jim. I know you wouldn't. It's just the other fellas listening to it.
Yeah, true. But what a yarn, mate. And as always, we've gone to our Instagram for some questions and come up with plenty. A couple of your Taniwha mates have come up trumps here by the looks of it. So we'll try and fly through these questions.
Of course.
The most common one was around who is the puffer fish. So this is obviously quite a common yarn.
Oh, this year, I don't know if you fellas have got a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
A team WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can change your name to an icon. Like, I think Offer came into our team this year, and there was this hedgehog that was in he said some positive message, and it come from a hedgehog. And I was looking at it, I was like, who is this positive hedgehog, And next minute, I might be the pufferfish or I might not be, but this pufferfish started coming up on all the WhatsApps, and he's quite a positive bloke, and he brought a lot of energy. But now our Tani's WhatsApp's just full of icons. We don't even know who's talking anymore. There's a tooth, there's a sloth, there's a turtle. I think there's that little shit emoji. We don't even know who we are, who we're talking to anymore, So, yeah, but apparently the pufferfish thing, all the staff got talking about it, and it was ruining their staff dinners and shit. They couldn't figure out who the pufferfish was. He's pretty elusive, I tell you that. I'm not sure who he is, but Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's good stuff. The elusive puffer fish. Okay, next one. Ask him about his world-class tackle technique.
I think we just went through that. There isn't technique sometimes, that's the problem, Jimmy. I'm about to go through my safety course on tackling, so hopefully I figure some stuff out there. But I don't know, it's just when someone runs straight and it's man on man, there's just something in me that just wants to, I don't know. I just don't want to get punked on TV. It's probably the thing. I want to do the punking, put it that way. And I just throw the bones at them more or less. And either I get knocked out or they get knocked out or I get bunted or it doesn't always work. And then but any malice that does happen out of it, I don't intend. And it's just something that happens. I guess it's all part of being a warrior, Jimmy. You know what it's like.
That's not quite to your levels, but, mate, you are one. It's not just on TV either. Like, I've seen you play games of club and stuff, and you are always throwing your body into it, every collision. Yeah,
well, when you got no pedigree, you got no pedigree from your parents athletically, you got to throw yourself hard at them, these legs are a disgrace, it's just a hamstring with bones, so... You got to do what you got to do.
Oh, mate, you've done what you've got to do. You've done so well. And next one, this one sounds like a yarn, actually. Did you and Sam Knock actually share a bed in the same room for a whole season? Surely not.
It was a top and tail. We did, one season we ended up, me, Dan Pryor, Cutter Pryor, Matty Moulds and Sock, Sam Knock. We had the Pryors own this little shack kind of right on the beach. It's probably about 20 minutes out of Whangarei.
Yeah.
And we all ended up moving there, but the problem was there was only 3 rooms, and it was tiny, and me and Sock being the young fellas, we drew the short straw and had the top and tail. It was a close 9 and 10 combo, half back 10 combo. It's paid dividends over the years. Yeah, good pillow talk.
Right, that's loose. So the whole year you actually slept in the same bed?
Yeah, well, we didn't really have a choice there, or we could sleep on the hard floor, but it was just a small little shack. Like it was a beautiful place to live because we were right on the beach and we'd go to training and then we'd come back and go out in the boat or play golf or whatever. But I guess one of the sacrifices you make is the bedding arrangements are a bit rougher, and me and Sock had to make do, and it's the 9 and 10 combo has paid dividends years later. So,
were either of you in a relationship at the time?
He was. He's been with his girlfriend for a long time since high school, I think. And
how did she feel about it?
She just said as long as it's a gentleman, it's all right. And luckily enough, it was a gentleman, eh?
and you pushed him onto the couch in the lounge when you brought something back.
Yeah, exactly. It was a long way to bring something back, Jimmy. It was 20 minutes out of town, but it's the unwritten rule, eh?
Oh, that's good stuff. I thought that was made up, but that's good. Okay, next one. Talk to me about your famous kick, Pookie Park from the sideline.
Yeah, that was the first game this year. There's nothing really about it. It was just one of those kicks, I guess it was a big game for us because after last season, we needed to start on the right foot. And the Naki had been going so well, last year I don't even know if they lost a game. So we went there and I think we scored a try with a couple minutes to go and it was 11 all or something. But it was just one of those kicks on the sideline. Like I don't know, you just it's like, Jimmy, you just back your years of practice and whatnot and whack it over. The real thing was the boys getting the ball over the line. I felt like I could do the rest, and we got the win, so it was good.
Mate, you always come up clutch, and you've had a few clutch kicks in your time too. A few on the 80th minute, needed to kick it to win. You've always come up trumps.
I don't know about always. I've probably missed a few, but there's been a few good ones that I'll always remember and cherish, and people still yarn about and whatnot. But it's part of your job, I guess, and you just got to back what you've been doing in your training, I guess.
Ice in his veins. Oh, Dan Hawkins. Okay, next one. This is from our major sponsor, Swish. Shout out to Swish. If you could get a video shout out from any celebrity, who would it be and why?
Oh, any celebrity? I don't know. Probably someone like a big time boxer, maybe Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
Someone like that.
He's got that same aggression as you, that KK saw.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. But, yeah, probably something.
Have you ever thought about getting into boxing?
Yeah. I actually did a bit of Matt Matic, one of the boys in the Tunnies. He's actually had a couple fights in the MMA stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually trained with him in the lead up to one of his fights. And I quite enjoyed it, but getting punched in the face for free is no fun, you know. So I don't know. Yeah, it was something like that. But I do enjoy the art of watching fights, and yeah.
Man, I could see you. You're a bit like Dan Hooker to me. I reckon you'd go real good in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hope my chin isn't pumice, as you'd say, Jimmy. I don't think it's a pumice chin, but
they'll be stronger than Cade Pookies. There's pumice bones everywhere.
That was pumice bones. I always remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Who's the biggest battler you've played with?
Ooh, man, there's been many. It's hard to narrow them down. I would have to say probably one of my Waitohi teammates, Bradley Hyde. He was a true battler to the sense of it, and he had a hell of a lot of ticker, that's for sure. And he had the haircut to boot. But yeah, it's hard to even explain how much a good battler he was to you, Jimmy. To be honest, I can't do it justice.
Mate, I do love a good battler. It's something. I mean, people often refer to you, or you even refer to yourself as the great white battler. You take good pride in being a white battler, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you got to know what you are, and that's what I am. So, I'm not going to try and be someone I'm not.
I'm in the same club for sure. Okay, next one.
I don't know, Jimmy. You got a bit more pedigree than myself, I reckon.
Hardly. Okay, last question. Best piece of advice you have for a Woodland listener? Always love finishing on a piece of wisdom, and who better than Dan Hawkins?
Yeah, as I said, bro, footy-wise and stuff, for me, it was a big part of it's being grateful for what's happened and what you got, and because even in pro footy, like the training days, some boys say, "Oh, it's a long day and whatnot," but I don't really see it like that. You know, I actually love being there, and it's not really a long day to me, you know. So I'm just grateful in that regard. But also, as I said, I think for a lot of young guys that would kind of be in similar shoes to me, maybe didn't go through like the under-20 program in New Zealand and stuff, they're trying to go the lower route. Just knowing, like, when, as I said, reading what's happening in your career, like, there might be times you've got to move on. There might be times where you've got to put your head down and go harder. But I think reading the business side of it as well, and just knowing when to get in and when to get out, when to go hard, it's pretty big. But just love what you do, I reckon.
Mate, love that. What a way to finish an unbelievable podcast. Oh, Dan Hawkins, mate, it's been awesome having you on the podcast. I mean, I remember you coming into Tasman as a young 18-year-old lad. Such good value, always keen to learn, always keen to do what's best for the team. That's a few of the things I remember. I had no idea you were going through a massive court case at the time. But, mate, it's been awesome following your journey over the last 12 years, taking you all around the world. Everyone's got a story of their time with Dan Hawkins. You're one of the true lads of the game here in New Zealand. So, mate, it's been awesome to catch up with you on the podcast.
I appreciate it, Jimmy. You're one of the true lads yourself, bro, and appreciate it. Even my time at Tassie, bro, you're always good to me and definitely looked after me. And congratulations on what you've done after your career, bro. To be honest, it's quite inspiring in itself. And with your podcast and your new gig at the Crusaders, good to see the lads that you play with kick on and do well, bro. It's a beautiful thing. So thanks for having me on, Jimmy. It's been a privilege, bro, and wish you the best.
Mate, you are one of the greatest lads. Love your work. Appreciate it, mate.
See you, Jimmy. Thanks.
What a lad, what a lad.